Morning, y'all.
Turn that on. How are you doing, Mr. McHenry?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Doing well. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the Board of Pharmacy. I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of how this process works and who you're talking to this morning. On this side of the table, we're staff members here that work in the Board of Pharmacy offices. Myself, Dr. Brendan McCrady is our assistant director, who will join us in a moment, and Miss Ashley Bales, who's our legal counsel. The other side, we have members of the pharmacy board who are decision makers here today. We've got Dr. Clint Boone to my immediate left, Dr. Lenora Newsom next to him, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. Dr. Newsom is our chair of this informal committee. And Dr. Newsom, I apologize, I did not even call roll, but if it's okay with you, I'll recognize the board members we've just named as in attendance this morning on the morning of July 28th, and it is right after 9 o'clock in the morning.
Great, thank you.
In this process, the board members are just now seeing a copy of your application that you told us you didn't have anything that would pop back, but some stuff came back. They'll talk to you about in just a moment. What'll happen is I'll turn it over to Ms. Vales. She'll give us an overview of what we found on your background check and as part of your application. And then the board members will talk to you, and at some point they'll come up with a decision. And we don't know what it's going to be. They could vote to deny it, to approve it, to call you back at some future date, to ask for some more materials. But whatever they do, you can either agree or disagree with. That's kind of the important part of this. Not something you have to decide right now, but at some point you will. If you agree with what they say, we go forth and everybody's happy. If you do not agree, you kind of have a choice of either saying, forget this and walking away from the application, or to request a full hearing before the full board at a later date, which would be all 8 members, a hearing officer, a court reporter, everybody gets sworn in, and it's just a more official procedure similar to what you see in court. So I was asked, Mr. McHenry, do you have any questions about how this works?
No, but I want to let y'all know, I know on the paperwork, it doesn't say I don't work at a pharmacy. I do work at Walgreens on Main Street down.
Okay, well, and we'll get to that in just a second. At any point, if you do have any questions, because I realize we do this all the time and you've never seen this, by all means, get our attention, ask any questions you've got, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Sir.
Okay. Ms. Vales?
We brought Mr. McHenry in for review of his application and waiver request. He did not disclose any arrests on his application, but on February 24th, 2024, he was arrested and charged with possession of an instrument of a crime. On March 18th, 2024, he pled guilty and was sentenced to 1 year in jail suspended. And the background check showed an arrest for an accompanying drug charge on the same arrest date, but there were no court documents to reflect that he was prosecuted or convicted of any other offense other than the instrument of a crime. And his statement does not disclose what that instrument of a crime was. So we have questions about that.
All right. You want to tell us in your own word what happened on that incident, please?
Yes. So I was picked up by a friend later in the evening around like nighttime. We were all, he was kind of impaired. As we were driving downtown, we got pulled over by the police. He was impaired, I wasn't, but I was in the passenger seat. I had a window popper in my pocket. We were just downtown, going on the town, just chilling, walking the bridge, going downtown, seeing the lights. And he got pulled over for a driving infraction. Everybody got pulled out the car. It was like 3 of my friends in there. Nobody wanted to fess up to what, somebody had something in the backseat. Nobody wanted to fess up. So we all got in trouble. I don't know what happened. I don't know what was in the backseat, but I just got in trouble and I just went to jail too. So, but yeah, they found the window popper on me and they charged me with that. And they charged everybody with the drugs.
So tell me what you mean when you say a window popper, because I know about 3 different things.
Popper, C-bill cutter. I have those on my keychain.
I got you.
So they will, if you're not complying with them, they will charge you with everything that you have on you. So
yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't just a glass punch. It was actually the safety keychain.
C-bill with the keychain and the C-bill cutter and everything that you would carry when you in the car with, just in case anything happened. So.
But were there drugs in the backseat?
Well, I really don't know what was in the backseat, but nobody in the backseat was fessing at all.
Driving.
One of my friends.
So
Do I need the
nobody
name?
confessed, so everybody got charged?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was kind of nighttime. It was around like 10, so I guess no nonsense cops. Well, they don't have time.
So you pled out to that window popper thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so, and you haven't gotten in any other trouble or anything?
No trouble. I've been trying well, I'm staying out of trouble. I kept a job at UAMS for a year. I'm young, so that was a big accomplishment for me. I just got a job at Walgreens as a pharmacy tech. I've been doing pharmacy cashier because I've been waiting on my license for about 3 months now. So I'm just waiting to get to the filling part and just do my best, change my turnaround.
So you're in the pharmacy department or you up front?
I'm in the pharmacy department, but I just do pharmacy cashier.
Okay.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any, questions to this gentleman?
I just want to make sure you understand the weight of patient's statement. It says, please read carefully and sign below. There's, among other things, I hereby certify that all information I'm providing is true.
And I apologize for not disclosing that I had a disciplinary action. I apologize. I wasn't reading it. I guess I wasn't reading the pharmacy thing, but at the same time, when I was doing my pharmacy board registration, I was doing it with my manager of the store, of the Walgreens store. So it probably kind of got looked over by me. She probably was clicking the buttons for me because I didn't really do my own thing because she was doing it and I was telling her my information.
So do you actually intend to work in the pharmacy?
Yes. No, this is not a regular job. I intend to broaden my career in the pharmacy. This is not a regular, I treat this like I'm going to work every day to serve my community.
Forward, remember? What is the wish of the board?
Could I ask, just as a matter of curiosity, exactly how a window popper can be used as an instrument of crime?
I mean, like if they suspect like people were all in the car and it was kind of weird. It was like a weird situation. But if people can get in trouble, like involved in like stealing, crimes, different things like that. So they charged me with that.
I can answer for you.
Okay.
So do you hear like people go to Two Rivers Park and they'll come back and a bunch of windows are smashed and purses have been pulled out?
Like,
It-
if I carry that safety
just-
tool on me, they will
It
think
shatters the glass.
I was thinking out in a weapon category, which
Yeah,
didn't make
it-
sense, yeah.
It's instrument to perform the crime, not to actually injure somebody at that point. It has a blade in it, but it's a protected blade to slice a seatbelt if you're stuck. So the fun thing is a lot of first responders will have one of those handy. So
Do you still carry that?
Yes. No, ma'am. I don't have it on my keychain as of now, but I did carry it all last year and the year before then. Yes, because I just moved into a new apartment, got my own things so going on. So I just got a new keychain.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver.
second.
Okay, I have a, motion by, Dr. Jolly, a second by Dr. Boone. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any nays? Motion passes. You get your license today.
Thank you guys so much.
You continue to do well.
Thank y'all so much. I've been waiting so long.
Yes.
Who you? Okay.
Good morning. Have a seat.
How you doing, Ms. Mulder?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Doing pretty well. It's a beautiful day somewhere.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be hot here. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board. I'm gonna tell you kind of who you're talking to at this table and a little bit about how this works. On this side, we're staff members that work here in the board offices. Myself, Dr. Brendan McCready, Miss Ashley Vales. Miss Vales is actually our legal counsel. Dr. McCready is our assistant director. On the other side, we have several of our pharmacy board members, Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. We're here today with your application to be a pharmacy technician. You told us that nothing would come back on that, but we found some stuff, which we'll have Ms. Vales highlight in just a minute, and then the board members want to talk to you about. Through this process, we're going to have a conversation. At some point, they're going to tell us what they want to do with your application. We don't know what they're going to say until they do. And you can either agree or disagree with it. If it's something you like, most of the time people agree with it. If it's something you don't like, at that point, you kind of have the choice to say, nah, forget this, walk away from it, or to request an appeal, basically to request a hearing before the full board at a later date. That is all 8 members of the board. Instead of me sitting here, we'd have a hearing officer, we'd swear everybody in. It's just a little bit more of a formal procedure, similar to what you'd see going to court. So I always ask, do you have any questions about how this works?
Sir, I think you explained it perfectly well.
And I say that because if you do have a question in the middle of this, that something is just weird, we realize you haven't done this and we do it all the time. Wave your hands, get our attention. We'll try to help answer any questions you got.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Bales?
And we invited Ms. Mulder in today. She didn't disclose any arrests on her application, but a couple of things came back. On July 30th, 2017, she was arrested and charged with battery in the 3rd degree. But when she went to trial, she was found not guilty. Then on December 28, 2018, she was arrested on DWI first offense. On November 19, 2019, she was found guilty and sentenced to 30 days jail with 29 suspended and $705 in court costs and to attend DWI class. But she did not disclose. So that's what brings her in today.
All right.
That,
How you doing this morning?
hello.
Okay.
Am I able to speak or no?
Yes, I'm just gonna ask you some questions.
Okay, so
You want to tell us what happened here?
everything in the application I did disclose. I was told that I needed to write out everything that happened and submit it, which I did. I had to get a disposition, I believe it was from Prescott, where the 2017 charge came from. And I also had to contact the Hempstead County Jail to also get the information from the DWI.
That's not, I'm talking about on your application, on the actual application, if you'll look at the second page. Keep going, it's the second page. There you go.
Thing is, her waiver was sent.
But she wrote down no on their
Fill out the waiver.
arrest.
But it's just a little bit weird because when you.
Because I honestly did not get, well, from my understanding, I didn't spend any time in jail. When I went to jail for the DWI, I had to stay, I guess, for the 8 or 12 hours after you sober up or something. That's the only time that I did. I never physically went to jail and had to actually stay. So when I seen this morning, it was new to me. I tried to get in contact with somebody before we came in here, but I couldn't get in contact with the right person to see if this is from the time that I spent for the 8 to 12 hours or what was it? Because I didn't do any time. in jail.
Yeah, that would count. If you went in a police car with handcuffs, that's an arrest.
Okay, well, that's my fault. I didn't understand. That was my first time ever going to jail as far as in being transported in a police car. I've never been in any trouble until then. I am in the process of getting my license back. I have taken one of my classes after I got discharged and was sentenced with this COVID hit. So I was unable to take any classes pertaining to the DWI at that time. They didn't have virtual classes that I was able to take as well because I did reach out for that as well. I also didn't find out until 2025 when I went to court in Bryant that I could have got my license back 6 months after I got the charge. So everything that I'm actually going through right now in my life is new to me.
Okay, you said you've been licensed as a technician before?
No, ma'am. I was talking about driver's
Driver's
license.
license?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got you. All right. So why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
I've actually been in the medical field for September will be for the last 14 years. I've been a CNA since 2012. I do have some college experience, well, some college as far as in nursing. I do want to expand my knowledge in the medical field beyond what I've already acquired for the last 14 years. As of right now, CNA work is not furthering my education of what I want to learn.
How do you currently get to and from work
How do I currently get to and from work? I work from home as of right now.
as a CNA?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I work for United Healthcare at the moment.
And so you do have your license back now?
No, ma'am.
When are you supposed to get your license back?
I have to take one more class, I believe it is, and then I have to get the thing that I have to blow into in my car. That is another thing at the moment. I get paid $16 an hour. I don't have the money to be able to take care of myself. I don't get no type of assistance. So me taking care of myself, I'm in a hole right now. I only make $16 an hour.
Did you or did you not attend?
I've attended one of them. I have one more class that I have to attend. And I can attend it at any point in time, but like I said, I think the class for me to do it virtual is $750. So I have to take that class plus pay to get the blower put in my car for I think 181 days. So I'm having to try and make ends meet to be able to get all of that taken care of. I've taken one class already.
That's still pending from.
Yes, sir. When COVID hit, they didn't have the virtual class for me to take. And I did reach out to, I think he may be a lawyer or prosecutor in Bryant. And I asked him about it. And at that point in time, nobody was doing in-person classes for me to take. And I couldn't do virtual at the time.
What was, so DWI, what was the intoxicant?
Yes, sir. It was alcohol. No, sir.
And this was just a one-time thing? Okay.
It's $750 for me to take the class virtual. I can take the class. Well, basically what I was told by the Arkansas DOT, I can get my license as soon as I get the blower tester put in my car. So what he told me was get the money to get that first and I can take the class while I have that in my car and get my license back. So that's the first thing that I'm working on now, that I know the information to get the blower put in my car.
But that's a requirement for you to get your driver's license,
Yes,
not
sir.
to satisfy
I have
the
to have
court.
it for 181 days.
The interesting thing is she's got basically her conviction, like that's done. Everything else appears to be to get her privileges to drive back. not necessarily, like, if she just never does it, she's not in trouble with the court. She just doesn't get her driver's license back.
So the DWI class is not fulfilling part of the role, but more related to.
That's my understanding.
I mean, since it's been 6 years, I don't think they would have jurisdiction over it anymore. So it would have to be just to get her license back.
In the interim, would you be able to get back and forth to work?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what your alcohol level was when you got that DWI?
No, ma'am. I don't even think that information got disclosed to me
Okay.
at that point in time, so I really don't remember.
Did you blow in the machine?
Yes, ma'am, when I got to the jailhouse.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions?
I move we approve the application.
Did I get a second? What's his name?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Simpson. Second by, Dr. Richmond. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any nays? Motion passed.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
I was thinking of there. I couldn't come up with a reason.
How you doing, Miss Esters? It's a beautiful day. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board. I'm going to tell you kind of who you're speaking with this morning at this table and kind of how this process works. Here at this side of the table, we're staff members that work here in the board offices. Myself, Dr. McCready is our assistant director, and Ms. Bales is our legal counsel and attorney. The other side, we have 5 of our pharmacy board members. We have Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. We're here today on your application to be a pharmacy technician, and you did let us know some stuff would come back, so thank you for that. In just a moment, I'll turn over to Ms. Bales. We'll give the board an overview of your application. They're just now seeing your application as well, and then they're going to want to have a conversation with you about it. At some point, they're going to tell us what they want to do with your application, and you have the chance to either agree or disagree with it. If you agree with it, we go forth with whatever they ask. If you disagree with it or something you don't like, you kind of have the choice to say, forget about this and walk away, or you could also request a full hearing before the full board at a later date. We call this informal because we're going to have a conversation back and forth. Full hearing is all 8 members. There'd be a hearing officer here instead of me doing this, swear everybody in, take witness statements back and forth one at a time. It's just a more formal process, kind of like what you see when you go to court. So I was asked, do you have any questions about how this works?
Not right now.
And that's a great way to put it. I realize you've never sat through this. If at some point you go, I don't know what's going on, I've got a question, wave your hands, get our attention. We'll do our best to help answer any questions you got. Okay, Ms. Bales?
And we brought Ms. Esters in for consideration. Today she did disclose, there would be something on her background check. On, April 23rd, 2025, she was arrested for terroristic threatening in the 2nd degree, a misdemeanor. And the court took the case under advisement and ordered probation, $300 fines and court cost. She completed the probation and then the case was null pros and sealed on January 20th, 2026. You'll see in your packet a letter from the sheriff. She was originally arrested for possession of firearm on school property, but after they investigated that, it was not charged that way, and she was only charged with the terroristic threatening offense.
Okay. You want to tell us in your own words what happened on that day?
It was just me and my daughter. We were at a park. Had a friend, been knowing her 10+ years. Her wife, never seen eye to eye with us being friends. I was getting ready to pack my daughter up, go home, and she stopped by. The wife seen us, and it started with them in a verbal altercation, but then she turned volatile towards me while I was putting my child in my car. So it was, and she blocked my car in. The way I was parked, I was unable to get out. I've always wanted to be honest. I did grab my firearm, but it wasn't to point it at her. It wasn't to, it was heat of the moment. So it was more so of, I wanted to hit her with it to try and get away from me and my child. This hasn't been the first time that she has showed up with anything. The first time it was, I hadn't had a child, and she actually showed up to my residence and she tried to physically assault me. And that was back in 20. Law enforcement was called then, but because she had left the premises, they didn't pursue anything. So it hasn't been a one-time thing that she has either harassed me or been around in any shape, form, or fashion to be volatile.
Has all of this been resolved with the law?
Yes, ma'am. We did all have to go to court. After this incident, that's in my notarized statement that happened, it actually kept pursuing. Since 20, I've moved to a different address. I had to bring camera footage. She showed up to my home then with my child, yelling, screaming, trying to be physical. It's been a time after that incident that she followed us around town, and she showed up in a local grocery store and was harassing, and we had to call a law enforcement. I actually had to file an order of protection, but by the time we reached court in July of 25, they didn't grant it because she had already moved out of state before we had court.
Okay, so this person is not around here anymore?
No, ma'am.
And why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
It's always any job really to help. I've always been, my dad was law enforcement, 25+ years, in the military, retired from. I am currently, by the time this incident happened, I was a 911 dispatcher. And of course, unfortunately, I had to resign from my job, but I have since returned. So it's just always something that I wanted to do is help. It doesn't matter really what job it is, as long as I'm able to help people. I'm always told that I'm overly friendly. I just love to treat people how they treat me.
Thank you. Candidate,
So did you say you're back dispatching?
Yes,
Where are you, with the county, with the city?
with City Monticello Police Department,
Okay.
Where, I'm sorry? Where?
Monticello, Arkansas.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
okay. We have a motion by Dr. Boone and a second by Dr. Richmond. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. You get your license today.
Thank you.
I think most of you heard Ashley say we're doing a cattle call this time to have a big block of people show up and have 2 hours to get through them all. And then another block of people. So we schedule, we've got about 15 minutes apiece. And are trying to schedule only the people who tell us they are coming so that we have a little more reliability, but it doesn't always work that way. Yeah. I was like, we scheduled 8 and then most of them told us they'd be here.
But if not, then you are sitting here.
I know, between them.
And so like, I like better to have people show up.
Yeah,
And it gets them out quicker too, if we do
it
that.
does.
They all got certified letters and then Lena has called them all.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else we can do except
Well,
give them a ride here.
the internal discussion we've had is if we schedule you and you don't give us like any feedback at all, like we may just, we can just take you off the agenda, but you see all these that are confirmed. And the funny thing is, 2 of the 6 that confirmed showed up. The other 4 have not as of yet, at least. We can't do anything with your application if you don't show up for this, but we're not going to keep chasing you. Like it's over for us unless you contact us later with an official request to appear. Your application is going to die.
Second.
Okay, so we've got one.
We're not being yet. On their way.
Yeah, except for the one that we couldn't get a confirmation of. But anybody having trouble opening up the massive documents that we sent you for all the pages, or if there were any of those meds you guys want to pull out specifically to discuss? We'll have this afternoon. AG's office will come and have a discussion with us. But you can kind of see after we put in a drop date of July 15th for applications, so that would give us a couple of weeks to process them before this meeting. Dr. McCready, I talked to her while I was on vacation. She goes, yeah, I think we got about 50. And I thought she meant about 50 individual drugs. She meant 50 manufacturers. So when I got back, she'd already compiled a whole bunch of that. And then I went back through it and we both did our evaluations and discussed the ones that we had questions about to come up with this summary. So it's fascinating.
Could you explain in general what makes the drugs that are at issue special?
They're all different. And so if you look at the statute itself, it gave some criteria that the board could consider, and the things that it would talk about, things like the rarity of the disease, the patient population size, the cost of the drug. And we even put some things in there like Harold, it's fascinating. I mean, there are drugs that if you looked at it and went, this sounds like a pretty simple drug, except it goes onto a device that does a continuous infusion and a sub-Q needle, almost like an insulin pump, or it has a special delivery device of sorts. Some of them are only used as part of surgical procedures. Some of them can only be administered in a clinical practice. And I mean, there's a bunch of these medications that when you look at the overall patient population, they could have 1,000 patients in the entire United States out of 330 million people. And we'll avoid talking about specific patient numbers in Arkansas when they're minimal numbers. But if there's fewer than 10 people in the entire state that do it, or there's literally 0 people that are subject to the medication, then I mean, to me, it's a pretty good case for why you'd have limited distribution. There's some of them. Have you seen, and we have a drug that's in here, like CRISPR therapy that can actually cure sickle cell? Well, I mean, that is such an individualized thing that you're literally having to take that person, that single individual, to develop that CRISPR treatment for them. So it's not just a bottle of pills or an injectable drug that is therefore asking to be able to have limited distribution. Because there's no way most pharmacies would ever have need or want the drug.
For the ones that will have.
I know. Well, and the trouble is trouble, good, bad, and different. The way that the law is written, for us at least, looking at it, it's those are the things that the board can consider for the law itself. Looking at the decision of the court on the injunction, my best guess is that the law will change next session or have some amendment to it that will change it up.
So the problem with the law, with regard to these lawsuits, is that if the law is bad, is unenforceable, that means we don't ever get to the question of whether we grant an exemption or not.
Well, the AG's office will be here this afternoon to go over some of what we've dealt with, but we have an injunction for a single drug company. And procedurally speaking, the other fascinating thing is we can grant exemptions from the law because it's basically saying we're not taking an enforcement stance on it. We could also, I think, designate that there are a whole lot of these drugs that do not need an exemption because they meet the other criteria in the law. They have academic, medical center, for-profit, not-for-profit, and geographic diversity in there. I think the third group, which is on your stuff, we made it orange just because it was the third color that's recognizable in Princewell, is if you don't think it meets the criteria of the law and you're not willing to grant an exemption, then the board basically is going to have to punt that to a formal hearing so that we have a formal hearing on it to have a transcript so that it could then be appealed in circuit court, which is fascinating.
But if the law itself is unenforceable, then none of that matters.
That's it. There's an argument to be made for that of no, we have to do the work of the law, but the enforcement is fascinating at that point.
And as I understand the way the lawsuits are phrased, they're an all or nothing. The law is either unenforceable or not, or is it just parts of the law are unenforceable?
I'd have to defer to an attorney for that.
Okay. Well,
I know that the decision on the one that we've seen was there can be no enforcement of the law for that manufacturer.
will the meeting with the Attorney General be publicized on YouTube?
We'll do it it's a public forum meeting. Yeah. They're going to come in quickly.
Well, I don't know what the long term. Someone comes in and say they've got a drug that's cell and gene therapy. Well, I think we just have to, you know, there may be some rare diseases and things like that, like we talked about last time.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be very thoughtful about a granting an exemption that's going to close future access to folks that may need access to it in the future.
Well, but, and here's the thing, any approvals, and I think I include this in your packets. If you look at the approval overviews that were sent after the last meeting, we have a couple of caveats in that it's, you know, as presented to the board. So if they make some substantive change or there's some substantive change to the patient population or something like that, then I think it brings it back for reconsideration upon request. So we did future proof in that. Okay. So that's because you're right. If I struggle for examples, but without starting to name specific drugs, but we both know that there are drugs that sit there with almost nothing going on. And then with additional research, they find out it's also good for this other thing.
That's exactly.
And then it goes from 10 patients to 100 patients, and it's a completely different thing.
Yep.
The other good thing is, you know, and we've had this discussion internally a good bit. A lot of the stuff that we see right now, when you read it, the manufacturers that are trying to comply with the law, frankly, many of them have explained how people can apply to get access. And that's part of their application that we would be giving an approval based on that. Now, if we find out that that is not correct information and someone says, hey, I want to see this application, there are things in the application that will be protected because of trade secret or whatever else. But if they say we will accept applications for consideration, there's a couple that I flagged that I'm going, I think we need more information because this manufacturer says that a pharmacy has to be URAC accredited. Well, URAC accreditation has nothing to do with your licensure status with the board and arguably does not have the same impact as what the statute says must be able to basically correctly obtain, possess, and distribute the drug. So that's if it was a PBM reimbursement thing, you would say it's illegal for a PBM to require URAC accreditation for monetary reimbursement. So why would that matter? And it does get weird because if it's a pharmacy, it'd have to be URAC accredited, but if it's a clinic, it doesn't have to have even a license. But it's with 169 drugs across 56 manufacturers at this point. It's been a fascinating read.
Well, I don't disagree. I will say that there are some drugs on the market where if you don't have certain vaccines in place and you're not verifying that those vaccines are in place before you dispense, it could have significant harm on the patient. So I don't philosophically agree with not requiring anything other than be licensed with the state, because I think for some conditions, there are going to be potential harm that could result. That being said, in my mind, I think that orphan drug status initially, and then you find out that it becomes
more widely used
in a more common condition would be one. But if there's a pathway back to reassess that, then I think that's fair.
We've built that in. And I would say it's a little bit different issue because on the first part you said, because if the drug has a requirement that the patient has some specific lab work or some specific vaccine, the pharmacy is going to have to respect it. Just like you can't do isotretinoin without going through all the paperwork to be sure the person is either not pregnant or is on something to prevent getting pregnant. I
was thinking more about like immunosuppressive drugs. Yeah. Like if you don't have certain vaccines in place, you could really open up a patient to getting an infection and whether I guess we could have an argument is that the responsibility of the pharmacy or is that the responsibility of the provider? And I think it's probably both.
Yeah.
But it is probably both.
Well, You're right. I mean, if you go back to some of the case law, not being an attorney, but the duties to warn and everything under, the Kowalski case were primarily in the seat of the prescriber, but not the pharmacy, even though we require the pharmacy to counsel the patients. There's some fascinating stuff reading through all this because there's a whole bunch of them that say can only be administered by a physician. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. It just like, it may be in a clinic, it may be in a healthcare setting, but a lot of those are not actually administered by physicians. They're administered by someone that the physician may have told to do it, or it's an IV infusion. It's generally not a physician running that. It's a physician ordering that to be done. So some of it is you're playing semantic games constantly.
Correct. And I would also encourage, if you see those, well, we have a pathway. There are sometimes barriers that are put in, like must be licensed, must have a pharmacy license in
50 states. Oh, yeah.
That's a common barrier to entry.
Yep.
Another one that I think other people have ran into is must be able to produce patient leaflet literature in these 6 languages. Along or whatever that language is. Vietnamese, Mandarin, Chinese, French,
Spanish, English.
Well, oddly enough, sometimes Spanish is not in there.
Yeah.
And so I would look at those requirements because some of them are just not feasible. You may not have a pharmacy system that can produce patient leaflet information in that particular language.
I think that's why the law has those designators that were added in as part of the amendment that, talk about you have to be able to, if there's, whether there's temperature control or anything else, there's a whole philosophical argument that some people say, well, this requires us to give this drug to anybody who wants it. And I'm like, but there's an automatic catch-22. And I go back to the most simple explanation. If you are trying to obtain a drug that requires ultra cold storage and you don't even have ultra cold storage, the moment you take possession of it, you're in violation of our rules, our statutes. And if the argument is, well, now I have to give that to that pharmacy, and I'm like, well, if you just had to give it to the pharmacy and they don't meet the criteria, then file a complaint with us and we will go shut it down. Like, you can't obtain stuff that you can't even store.
The ultra cold should be relatively rare.
But it's a really good example of
it is
because we lived it with
COVID.
With COVID, we had people that were very upset that they were left out of the distribution for that when they did not have the required storage for the vaccine. And you could have arguments of, well, we'll just store it on dry ice. And I'm like, that's a whole different thing because it's Schrodinger's cat. Is there dry ice in the box or not? Well, you don't know unless you check. It's in theory, I put dry ice in there, but if you've ever had stuff that you deal with it, one day you open the box and there's just none left and you don't know what the temperature excursions are.
And I agree with the philosophy there. I'm not pushing back.
Yeah.
I'm just saying some of the immunosuppressive drugs, I mean, you just got to make sure that if you're going to, take it on, you got to have those, some good processes.
Well, it's just, and that's why
that may not be different from what people are doing now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's like the post-marketing surveillance that could be required on the specific drugs or the REMS modules that are done.
REMS are sometimes pretty significant.
Well, and we've got people that have said, oh, no one else can enroll in this because FDA won't let anybody else in the REMS. And I think Dr. McCready and I both think, well, that's not the FDA that enrolls you in REMS. It's the drug company that makes that determination. And it's you just shook up the Coke can, handed it to somebody else and acted like they're the ones who agitated it. So other issue, which Ashley will tell me to be quiet in a minute. So we have run into some issues and we're just kind of wondering how exactly you guys would like us to go forth and handle them because we've handled it different ways in the past. We have some instances where we'll have someone that's a pharmacist or more likely a technician and they're arrested for theft or they're fired for theft from an employer, but it's chips and sodas and sandwiches and stuff. It's non-drug related. So we run the gamut from it's $50 worth of stuff to its embezzlement of thousands of dollars. Or it's, you know, I got caught skip scanning at the grocery store or at Walmart or something where, you know, oh, it was just an accident. And then they go back and review the tape. It's like, no, you skip scan like four products on average the last 3 times you've been to the store. You're just not scanning and paying for stuff. So are these issues where you want us to do emergency hearings, bring them in at the next informal, do formal charges and hearing, like when it's not drug related?
But if they're still in that way, they're probably still in another way. Maybe a pill here, a pill there. I just don't get the stealing part. Theft is theft. Mm-hmm. That's my thinking.
It's kind of how we feel about it. It's for, even if you're not doing it now, the likelihood that you would be at some point prone to do it is much, much higher.
Well, and you know, we've talked before about statistics on the number of waivers that we give and then the ones that we're having to do emergency hearings on or that we do have theft.
Yeah.
You know, what percentage of that?
It's 25%. Last time we really ran any numbers.
And so I don't feel comfortable just blanket saying, yeah, we're okay with it.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the bigger thing is, do you want us to take an active process to pull their technician permit, or we were having this sidebar, like if it's a pack of gum and the only thing we've got is, okay, they skip scanned a pack of gum and it was $3 and that's all the evidence we've got. I mean, that is theft, but that's, I don't know that that's emergency hearing worthy. But if there's a pattern of something, or if it's over some certain dollar amount, we're trying to figure out where the.
Yeah, because the emergency hearing, I have to prove that they're a risk to patient harm, safety. And some of these skip scan people, that's a judgment call because it's not related to their practice of pharmacy. But you also don't want someone that's actively stealing in a pharmacy potentially. So that's where I think that we would bring these people in regardless. We're just trying to figure out what's the best path. Is it bring them in for an emergency hearing if they don't sign a voluntary surrender, or wait to the next hearing date if it's not really an emergency and bring them in for disciplinary?
So it would only be, I mean, obviously if they're stealing something within the pharmacy,
That's a different category.
So this would just be
Yeah.
theft of something that wasn't really related to.
Yeah, and the question is, do we get them in right away, or can they wait, or would you rather them wait till the next hearing date, I guess? If it's completely unrelated to pharmacy.
And does it matter if they've been arrested, if they, what kind of circumstances? I mean, a bottle of some generic max might be $5,
But that's still a felony.
So we could, I mean, I'm just
saying $3 versus.
I'm saying non-pharmacy.
Yeah, we're non-pharmacy related. I'm on my way home. I stop at Walmart and I accidentally or purposely don't.
Yeah, if they
Scan
divert
all my stuff.
I think that's the black and white. The other is you begin to hone down to where do you draw the line so many different times, and so it really becomes a judgment call. But I think we want to talk to them because it's an issue of moral behavior. But whether or not it's an emergency versus next available hearing, that could, unless it's pharmacy pill related, that could be your.
Do you notify an employer? Do you let them keep working?
Is there any value in they were approved, or I don't even know if this would be possible. If we approved their application on a waiver, or they steal anything, or we want to set a threshold above $50. I don't know what the number is. Set that for an emergency hearing, and they weren't approved for a waiver and they're above a certain amount, maybe we set that one for an emergency hearing too. I don't know, I'm just talking out loud, just trying to.
Well, I mean, that you're struggling the same thing we are. Like if they were given a waiver because of a history that involved theft and they got caught stealing again, staff would probably notice that up for an emergency at our next opportunity because they came in and said that that was not going to be an issue any longer in that pattern. And it would appear that they therefore lied to the board and obtained that registration by fraud because then they went and repeated the activity.
I would support that. I mean, I'm just one person, but I
Yeah.
would support that personally, for an emergency.
And
hearing.
keep in mind, most everybody that we get notice of breaking the law or this bad behavior, we do offer voluntary surrenders on a lot of them. So these are usually people that we've offered voluntary surrenders for and they haven't responded. So that would put them on the track for a hearing.
Ashley, did I understand you to say that the emergency hearing is not necessarily limited just to patient safety issues?
No, it is. You have to make a finding that the health and safety of the Arkansas patients are at risk if this person maintains their license.
Could you explain how stealing small amounts of stuff, even from the pharmacy, affects health and safety?
Well, that would be the judgment call. That's the kind of argument we're tossing back and forth because on the one hand, you don't want necessarily people that are stealing in the pharmacy, but on the other hand, it's unrelated to pharmacy practice. So that's kind of why we're seeking guidance from the board. If you all, because to do an emergency hearing, you have to make that finding. So I would argue someone that has a pattern, like if they've come in on a waiver on a theft issue and repeated that behavior, maybe that person is at risk to health and safety. But not all, I mean, it's going to be a judgment call every time because those are very fact specific situations.
Well, it looks like that puts us in a minority report situation where we have to extrapolate into the future because somebody stole a pack of gum, therefore they're more likely to steal. I mean, I can see taking an action to suspend a license after a conviction.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I also have a problem with simply on arrest because you've got a presumption of innocence. And that's what causes me some difficulty in seeing where the line can be. I can see the benefits, but I also see difficulties with that.
Right. And we did too. And that's why we're seeking guidance from you all as the decision makers.
Well, for my off the top of my head thought is that we allow even people who've been arrested for murder to get out on bail. And maybe, I know I'm mixing all kinds of metaphors in doing that, but again, I can see after there's a conviction, we have an established fact that somebody has stolen something. Where an arrest with a presumption of innocence, you don't. And now, if it were drugs or something that directly, that's a different matter altogether.
And I want to add this one point to yours. If you do an emergency hearing, it's a kind of an intermediate suspension until I can bring them to a full hearing. If you do an emergency hearing, it's not necessarily adjudication of whether or not in this forum, whether or not they did the act or not. It's just pending that we want to suspend their license. Then I'll bring them in for a full hearing if they request one, or if they still want to pursue the license. So it's not really anything, it's not a final order that anyone can appeal at that point if you do an emergency hearing. If we do a regular disciplinary hearing, then theft and things like that, there's a list and theft's on there of things that are grounds for revocation. And you could find the facts constitute theft by preponderance of evidence. Now in criminal court, they have a higher burden, but here I think you could find for our purposes, a preponderance of evidence that they committed this offense that would be unprofessional, and it would also potentially be a violation of law.
So right now, what are we doing?
A mixed bag.
Yeah. Staff is having to make determinations which ones we believe need to come before the board for emergency hearing. Like we have, and this is different subject, but like we have a couple that we'll bring up this afternoon that we believe have risen to the level that they need an emergency hearing for, potential safety purposes.
So is there a value that you guys are using currently? Are you looking for a value, like a dollar amount, a certain type of
Right.
crime?
I think the way, as we look through it, because they're all different.
Right.
We run into them where it's $20,000 of, theft from an employer. And if you're telling me there's $20,000 that's missing and they have evidence of it, like, I don't feel good about that person saying, well, I just got fired from this employer and they're accusing me of massive embezzlement, but I'm just going to go to the next person. Like, I think that could be a patient safety issue because that's money that also affects patients. If it's skip scanning a pack of gum, we're like, this is very frustrating because it's, depending on the factual circumstances, but if we see someone obviously not paying for products that they're getting somewhere unrelated to pharmacy, we have this internal thing of like, well, we're just going to schedule them for the next informal. And then we have some that you're going, we have a pharmacy that's doing something completely out in left field that is a risk to patients. We're bringing them in for emergency. We're just having to do kind of our gut check on it, but we don't want to be bringing stuff to you that you don't want to see in emergency hearings at the same time.
I don't think I've seen anything in emergency hearing that I wouldn't want to see yet.
Okay.
It's like defining tacky. Let us know when you see it.
You
You go, that might have been a little much.
Yeah, if we do it and you don't think it's worthy of an emergency hearing, you just vote that way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so far, I don't think we're seeing that. So I don't think you're
Hadn't hit it yet.
hadn't hit it yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we got somebody here.
Yes, I have one person.
I think a 5 minute.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break.
Miss Chriswell.
Miss Chris,
Certainly.
all right. We appreciate that. Yeah.
No problem.
You having a good morning, Miss Chriswell?
My nerves is bad right now, because I'm sorry.
I understand. I'll try to put you a little bit of ease. I'm going to tell you kind of who you're talking to and how some of this works. On this side of the, I'm John Kirtley, by the way. I'm the pharmacy board director. And on this side, we're staff members that work here in the offices. Dr. Brenda McCready is our assistant director. Miss Ashley Bales is our attorney. On the other side, we have 5 of our board members who are decision makers here today on your application. So we've got Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who serves as the chair of this informal committee, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. On this, we have your application and you let us know up front, like you disclosed, you said, yeah, something's going to come back. We'll have to talk about. In a moment, I'll turn over to Ms. Bales. Ms. Bales will give them just kind of an overview and explain what we found on your application. The board members are just now getting a copy of it so they can look at it themselves, and then they're going to want to have a discussion with you about that. It's just a back and forth across the table. They'll ask you some questions, and at some point they'll say, here's what we would like to do with the application. We don't know what they're going to say, and you could either agree or disagree with them. If you agree with them, we go forth with whatever they've suggested and everybody's happy. If they come up with something you don't like it's not a decision you have to make right here, but it kind of gives you the choice to say, forget about this and walk away, or to request a formal hearing before the board at a later date, which is just more formal, and then it's all 8 members. There'll be a hearing officer and a court reporter, and everybody gets sworn in, and it's a more formal procedure like you'd see going to court. So that one's, for a lot of people, is a little bit more stressful, even though you're here in front of us today. There's a bunch of people staring at you. I know it's stressful. So I always ask, do you have any questions about kind of how this process works?
I don't think so.
Okay. If you change your mind, because you've never done this and we do this all the time. So when you change your mind, you got a question, you wave your hands, you get our attention, and we'll try to help answer any questions you got.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Ms. Bales?
We've brought Ms. Chriswell in today for consideration. This is a reinstatement application. She did disclose, and on May 13th, 2022, she was charged with Fraudulent Insurance Act, a Class D felony. According to her statement, which you have in your materials, she got into a car wreck when she was uninsured. She then obtained insurance after the car wreck and made a claim on the newly obtained insurance. She pled guilty to the Fraudulent Insurance Act and was sentenced to 2 years suspended sentence, $500 fine and court costs, and credit for 2 days in jail. At the time of that incident, she was a registered pharmacy technician with us. And she did not disclose the arrest on her 2023-2024 renewal application.
All righty. You want to tell a little bit about how this all come about? I was going to work. It was snowing. I was like I was driving the car, and I don't know if y'all know where Dave Water on Conway is at, but I was coming off of that ramp, and I was going, I must have been going fast. I'm scared of snow. I always been scared of snow. And I just ran into the wall. And so when I did my claim, I didn't have insurance. I really didn't have insurance at the time. But my boyfriend was telling me, yeah, let's do that claim now. So by the time they get to us to get to the charges, the claim and everything would have been done. And when I didn't realize it was going to be a felony charge when I did it. I just thought it was going to be, I didn't even know I was going to get charged for it. And when I went to court, they told me that I must have not been listening, right? Because I thought it was just going to be suspended sentence and 500. I didn't even know about the fine. I just thought they told me to bring my COVID card so I could reduce the fine, saying that I took my COVID shots and stuff. So, but when I went to apply, I did not know. I really did not know when I reapplied for my license for the 23-24, it was a felony. I thought it was when I went to court, I thought it was a misdemeanor. I didn't think it was a felony. So when I tried to renew my license, that's when I found out that it was a felony charge.
And how long ago did this happen?
This happened, oh God, I think it was I want to say that in January of 2023, that's when I got the wreck. I did the wreck. When we had that bad, cause I was going to work to children. I worked at Children's at the time, and I was going to work at Children's that's when I wrecked my car.
And you haven't had any problems since?
No, ma'am. Trust me, ma'am. No, ma'am. I have been working. The reason why I haven't been working because my father has been sick. So since he's now doing better and he's in a better place right now, not dead or nothing like that, but he's in a better situation of his. I can go back to work, and I was trying to get my license back, and so I could get back to work.
And how long have you been a technician?
I've been a technician from. You want from here or when I first started?
When you first started?
2009.
Oh.
I'm originally from Louisiana, and so I moved from Louisiana up to Arkansas with my daddy's family, because my daddy's family here, my mom's family is in Louisiana. And when I came up here, and I came here in 2016, and I've been a tech since, and I didn't do no, it was always hospital. Well, except one was home infusion, but most of it was hospital.
So let me ask you this, how long have you been out of work as a technician?
To tell you the truth, since July of 2024, because my dad has been sick. He's been sick that long, and we just like went back and forth in the last 2 months. Well, since February, we've been in the hospital 8 times. So right now he's doing so much better, and I was just getting myself to get back to work while I can, because just in case he does go, I need a job to pay the mortgage.
Anyone has any questions of this candidate? So would this be like a reinstatement?
It'd be granting the waiver to allow for reinstatement with the updated history that happened.
Thank you.
So if I do get reinstated, do I have to I have a felony charge each time, or just?
But it would be solved for us, as far as once the board approves, or if the board were to approve, I don't know what action they're going to take, but if they approved it, like you're good with us, it would be interesting because if you worked for a pharmacy and had an insurance felony, it could affect their contracts that you work there. So
I did get it expunged.
I get that. The weird thing about expungement and sealing, especially on like federal contracts, Medicaid, Medicare, they may not care about the expungement. There are some very strict guidelines in insurance that even if you got to expunge, it would be, my understanding is, and I'm not an attorney, it'd be very difficult for you to work in the insurance industry. But also some insurance companies would see it as a potential risk for like fraud, waste, and abuse is the fancy word that they use, that you had a criminal conviction dealing with insurance and were working in a pharmacy that was also dealing with insurance. So you'd have to, if they approved you, you'd have to make sure your employer was aware of that history because it could affect their business as well. It's a odd thing.
I would make a motion for reinstatement.
And we have a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Richmond for reinstatement. Are there any additional questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. So you'll get your license back today.
Thank y'all so much.
I hope your dad does okay.
Stay home in the snow.
You don't know. I'm allergic to snow. I'm telling you. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Bane of my existence.
You have to get out in it.
It's true. How are you doing this morning, Mr. White?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fairly well. At least I'm not outside in this heat.
That's what
I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board. I'm going to kind of tell you who you're speaking with this morning and kind of how this process works.
Okay.
On this side of the table, we are staff members here at the Board of Pharmacy. Myself, Dr. Brendan McCready is our assistant director. Miss Ashley Bales is our legal counsel. On the other side of the table, we have 5 of our pharmacy board members who are decision makers here today on your application. We've got Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who is the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. On this, you did submit an application and you let us know right up front, hey, you're going to see some stuff on this. So thank you for being forthright and being honest and letting us know that. In a moment, I'll turn over to Ms. Bales. She'll give the board members an overview of what we found. They're just now looking at your application, just like what you've got there. And at some point, they're going to say, here's what we want to do with this application. They're going to tell us how they would proceed with it. And you can either agree or disagree with that. If you agree with it, we go forth. If you disagree, it's not a decision you have to make right here, right now. But it gives you kind of the choice to say, you know what, forget about this. I'm not doing anything else. Or you could request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date.
Okay.
We call this informal because it's part of the board, part of the staff. We're going to have a conversation back and forth. Formal hearing is generally all 8 board members. There'd be a hearing officer here to swear everybody in and a court reporter, and we take witnesses, and it's just a more formalized procedure, similar to what you would see when you go to court.
Okay.
So I was asked, do you have any questions about how this works?
No, sir.
If you change your mind, realizing you haven't been here before for this, if you've got a question for us, wave your arms, get our attention. We'll try to help answer any questions that you have because we do this all the time and realize it's a different procedure for you.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Bales?
We have brought Mr. White in for consideration. He did disclose things would come up on his background check. On February 26, 2010, applicant was charged with theft of property, a Class C felony. On September 10th, 2012, he entered a negotiated plea and was sentenced to 3 years supervised probation, $200 fine and court cost, 100 hours of community service, and 12 months of random drug screens. In September of 2015, an arrest warrant was issued for probation violations. He appeared in custody, and on September 21st, 2015, he was sentenced again to 3 years probation to start over on the day of sentencing and $200 fine and court cost. On January 20th, 2017, a revocation warrant was issued. He was held in jail with no bond. He paid approximately $2,700 on arrears and fines and court costs that he owed, and they canceled the hearing. He was returned to probation and given 35 days of jail credit. The case is now under a petition to seal. So he's trying to seal that from his record.
All right, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Good. You want to tell us a little bit about what happened in 2010 and bring us forward, please?
Yes, ma'am. So, in 2010, at the time, I was working for Metropolitan National Bank. During one of my shifts, I had received a call from my mother that her mother had passed away. I ended up kind of leaving the bank in a rush. When I got back, because her mother at the time was living in Atlanta, Georgia, so we traveled down to Atlanta to deal with the funeral preparations and everything. When I returned to Little Rock, I was informed that my drawer was short. I had left the key that opens the drawer and everything just kind of there when I left. So because it was my responsibility at that time, I was terminated. The amount of money that was missing from my drawer was debited from my last check. And that was kind of where that had ended. And then I found out that something about the attorney with the bank had changed over to a new person. And at that time, he decided to press the issue and actually push for a conviction or to press charges at that time. So I was young. I was kind of embarrassed about the whole thing. I didn't really try to seek any help for that. So when it came down to it, I just accepted the guilty plea rather than trying to fight it or prove any sense of, not taking anything. And it just kind of spun out of control from there. I don't remember exactly what the first probation violation was. I believe it was like speeding. I was speeding or something like that. Later on, the last revocation that I received, that was just problems with my probation officer at the time. They had kind of a check-in system that you did digitally. I had appeared for my meetings. I guess I didn't check in on the computer portal or whatever at the probation office. So I ended up getting a revocation for that. And yeah, after I think that was like the last dealing with it, and I haven't had any issues since then. And I actually was successful in my petition to seal my record. I just found out maybe last week or so.
Okay. All that's been resolved.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you currently doing?
So currently I work in the nonprofit space in HIV prevention and harm reduction. So I run a statewide PrEP awareness campaign, teaching people about PrEP, the modality to prevent HIV. I've helped get naloxone out to thousands of people, getting condoms and things like that, teaching other healthcare providers about PrEP and ways to prevent STIs. So now I'm involved in that realm.
Okay, so you're sort of in healthcare.
Yes, ma'am.
So why be a pharmacy technician?
Well, what it was is with dealing with having this on my background, it prevented me before from continuing in a nursing program. So while I was doing the work in kind of the public health realm with nonprofit, as you know, with cuts from the federal government, that put that job in danger. I lost funding from one of my jobs and I was trying to find something a little bit more sustainable. I ended up doing the adult education program with Pulaski Technical College, and I did the pharmacy tech program there. And really after finishing that, it gave me the confidence to kind of try going back to school. I kind of sowed some self-doubt thinking it's too late. I was a little too old to get back into it. But after succeeding with that program, I realized that I could do it. And I just wanted to move from just the paraprofessional help and get right back into healthcare, which had always been my dream. So actually now looking to start we'll be starting the LPN program with Arkansas State University, Three Rivers, starting August 17th.
Part of your sentencing included 12 months of random drug screening. What was the basis for that?
I'm not sure. It wasn't that I had any past drug use or anything like that. It was just included as part of the sentencing.
So The felony did not involve, I mean, this issue with the bank, this was not in,
No, sir, not at all.
that time were you using marijuana?
No, sir.
Other questions?
All of these instances just stem from the 2010
Yes, sir. Correct.
all follow-up from probation issues.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Boone and a second by Mr. Simpson. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. You'll get your license today.
Thank you so much.
Good luck
Good
to school.
Thank you.
I saw Luke Daniel over here. That's our Luke?
Yes.
Okay.
The funny thing is, I don't know what has happened, but like almost everybody in this office has wound up with jury duty. And Lena had to report for jury duty for one last week, and he was the prosecutor.
Wow.
So he's like, I didn't even know you were there till you stood up and, does anybody know anybody involved? It's like, well, I know the attorney's like, oh, hey.
Small world.
Yep.
They give her an exemption from jury duty.
She was not selected, but I'm sure if she'd have been pulled up for that, that would have been a conflict of interest. Got a few minutes? Well, we know that all of our 11 o'clock said they were coming.
Oh, 140 coming in early? Mm-hmm. That's great.
Well, it's 10:40. Well, if we'd only scheduled 4 for 9 o'clock, 6 would have shown up. That's the way that works. We can break until they show up. Might as well. Okay, we'll be back when the next person shows up.
Good morning.
How you doing, Mr. Dunn?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm going to tell you kind of who you're talking to and a few things about our procedure this morning to get us started. On this side of the table, we are staff members here at the Board of Pharmacy. Myself, Dr. Brenda McCready is our Assistant Director. Ms. Ashley Bales is our Legal Counsel. On the other side of the table, we have 5 of our Pharmacy Board members. We've got Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenora Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. In this, the board members are just now seeing your application where you told us that nothing would come back, but we did find some stuff. So we'll have Ms. Bales go over that in just a minute to give an overview of it. At some point during this, the board members are going to want to talk to you about this. And at some point, they'll have a suggestion for what action they want to take on your application. They could vote to approve it, deny it, postpone it, ask for additional information. We don't know what they're going to say until they do that. Thing for you is you could agree or disagree with their decision. If you agree with it, we go forth with whatever they've suggested. If you disagree, you kind of have a chance to either say, forget this and walk away from it, or to request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date. We call that a formal hearing because it's all 8 board members, a hearing officer sitting here instead of me, a court reporter. We swear everybody in as witnesses. It's just a more formal procedure similar to going to court. So I always ask, do you have any questions about how this works?
No.
Okay, if you change your mind, realizing you haven't sat in front of us before, wave your hands, get our attention. We'll try to help answer any questions you got.
Okay.
Ms. Bales?
We have brought Mr. Dunn in for consideration today. He did not disclose any arrest or charges on his application. A couple of things did come back. One from March 3rd, 2011, he was charged with residential burglary, Class B felony, and theft of property, Class A misdemeanor. There's a document in there that you can refer to, but those charges were null pros by the state for good cause. Then on July 22nd, 2012, he was arrested and charged with theft of property, a Class A misdemeanor. He was sentenced to unsupervised probation, $350 fine and court cost, and theft class. On September 25th, 2013, he was charged with probation revocation, but then the balance was paid in full and he's complied with those orders from 2012. And that charge is still on his record though, and has not been expunged.
How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. You want to tell us about what happened to bring these charges?
Certainly. So I did prepare a statement. Would you like me to address these individually, or am I allowed open session to read my prepared statement?
You can go ahead and read it.
Okay. It's on my phone. That's okay. Just a second. Good morning, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today. I sincerely appreciate your time and consideration. I understand that the board has a responsibility to protect the public and to ensure that those entrusted with responsibilities in the pharmacy profession demonstrate honesty, integrity, and good judgment. I respect that responsibility and I take this opportunity very seriously. I would like to address the matters that appear in my background. Several years ago, I was charged with a misdemeanor and a felony. The felony charge was ultimately null pros, meaning the prosecution chose not to pursue the case, and it did not result in a conviction. The records have since been sealed in accordance with Arkansas law. The misdemeanor matter also occurred many years ago. While these matters are part of my past, they do not reflect the person I am today. Since that time, I have worked diligently to build a life defined by responsibility, integrity, and service. I have maintained employment, continued my professional development, and remained committed to making positive decisions that reflect the trust others place in me. This experience taught me valuable lessons about accountability, perseverance, and the importance of maintaining the highest ethical standards. It strengthened my character and motivated me to become someone who contributes positively to my community and profession. I respectfully ask the board to consider the totality of my life, not just the events from many years ago. My actions over the years since these matters demonstrate my commitment to personal growth, professionalism, and ethical conduct. If granted the opportunity, I will continue to uphold the laws, regulations, and ethical standards expected of anyone serving in the pharmacy profession. I understand that the trust accompanies this responsibility, and I am fully committed to earning and maintaining that trust every day. Thank you for your time, your service, and your thoughtful consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So it seems like we want me to address this regarding the misdemeanor theft charge that occurred in 2011. As it is noted, I was sentenced to an unsupervised probation. I was working full-time at that time, and the only additional thing was to pay the monthly fine and to attend a theft class. At that time, I was working 6 days a week, and my only off day was Sunday. I received a phone call approximately a year later from the Little Rock Criminal Court stating that a new probation officer had come on board. I'm not sure what happened with this new probation officer, but they proceeded to tell me that I was in violation of my unsupervised probation. So that was my first time ever having any type of criminal proceeding. No one was checking at my door, calling me to say you need to come in and take a P test. I was working full time. So at the end of that conversation, they stated that they would drop the theft class. So I never had to take the theft class, but it was not my understanding that they were going to issue a judgment for revocation. I never went back and saw a judge after that and thought that this would just fall into the first offenders program and would be automatically sealed off of my record. Not until I applied for the pharmacy board was I made aware that this matter was still hanging out there on my record. And then I did proceed to have this matter sealed. I have an email from Little Rock Court Clerk's office stating when the matter went before the judge and was actually received. So that has since been sealed off of my record since the date that I applied. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what did you do?
Oh, there was a misdemeanor theft that occurred at a retail store here in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Which was what you do?
I stole something from a retail location here in Little Rock, Arkansas.
I think she's asking you,
Well-
what did you actually steal?
Yeah,
Oh, it was a video game controller. Okay. Or PlayStation.
okay.
And despite working full time at that time, I thought that it was easier for me to just go in and walk out with it. Of course, at that time, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. Was that the 2012 incident?
No, that's the 2011 misdemeanor theft. The 2012 incident, if you'd like me to answer that, that was a matter involving my father, one of his girlfriends. He accused me because I was not arrested on scene. I was brought in, charges were filed on me. I had a warrant. My mother was made aware of it. So I was brought in and basically booked. However, that's why I also didn't know how to properly answer that question because I was never arrested, took a ride in the back of a police car. I was brought in and booked, fingerprinted per the process. Eventually, my father did arrive at court, and that's why that charge was null prost. I was probably maybe 2012, maybe good 21, 22 years old. So at that point, I didn't know what null prost was. I did have an attorney. I was seeking a dismissal. However, in law, prosecutors and defense attorneys make agreements all the time for the good of them and supposedly for their client. They told me that that would be the same effect as a dismissal.
What did they think you did?
Oh, well, accused me of felony burglary, I guess breaking into his home and stealing some items. I don't really recall specifically what it was. I don't know what he put in his complaint to the prosecuting attorney to get them to agree to those charges. I was not there.
And so you haven't done anything to have any of this expunged?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
You have?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So by now, the misdemeanor charge has been fully expunged. The revocation charge, I did have to go back and resubmit that because I assumed that the misdemeanor and everything associated with it would follow, but it is an actual separate charge. So as of July the 6th, I did submit another order and petition to seal to the Little Rock Court Clerk. They just emailed me back, so I don't know if the case has been sent to Judge Camps as of this morning regarding the revocation.
Okay.
In addition, I did submit to the Pulaski County 4th Circuit Court to have the felony null pros charge sealed as well.
Okay, so how are you employed right now?
I'm currently working for the U.S. Census Bureau. Prior to that, in Denver, Colorado, I worked as a 911 police dispatcher, serving and protecting our community. And prior to that, I worked for 13 years as a United States Postal Service employee.
Okay, so why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
So I'm wanting to take, good question, a shift in career. Like I said, I've lived previous to this in Denver, Colorado for 6 years. My parents are aging, and I wanted a career that would allow me more flexibility, and something that was a little more fulfilling to me, that I was more passionate about. So the pharmacy tech is to allow me to work part-time while I attend a radiology technology program and allow me gainful employment, something stable with some benefits while I pursue that, because it is challenging to go into a rad tech program and still have full-time employment outside. So the employer that I had lined up in March of this year was going to be Walmart, which they did offer tuition reimbursement at the time, and they were willing to work with my schedule. Unfortunately, they did have to just pull that job back because the slowness with getting my pharmacy license. So I hope to reapply to them. I had a great rapport with the hiring manager. They were great and just very disappointed that they weren't able to bring me on board. And I would like to say that I did pass their background check that Walmart had me go through.
Okay. Why did you answer that you had never been arrested?
Well, so I guess the confusion to me at the time was that with the first offenders program, it was my understanding that this matter would automatically be sealed after so much time. And that was what my attorney regarding the felony charge had led me to believe when the matter was null prost. He did tell me that it would be some time afterwards, but since I paid him roughly $3,000, I assumed that that was his responsibility. And like I said, I went on living my life and continued to work at the Postal Service, worked in public safety in Denver for 911, and was able to get my NCIC clearance, which is the federal background check is required for that. So none of this ever came up during my career that I had something that would prevent me from working in certain jobs or occupations.
Right after that, then asked, have you ever had a record expunged or sealed? And you answered no.
Well, then that would have been an oversight on my part. What page of that application is that on? She did give that to me, and I was taking time to look through that, make sure. It was not my intention to misrepresent myself on the application by any means, because again, I wasn't even aware that this was going on. So I thought that it was okay to answer no to those questions after the matter had been sealed. Especially like I said, regarding the felony charge, I was not arrested. I turned myself and booked myself in. Yes, with the misdemeanor, I was put in handcuffs and did take a ride that day. I'm sorry if I did not answer your question.
But if you look at the tops of the pages, Mike will work. One of them, pharmacy technician personal history information, is at the very top of the page, and it starts off with, have you ever been found any civil, administrative, or criminal proceeding to have, and it goes through the following.
Oh.
And then you go down and, like 3 questions in, have you ever been cited, arrested for, charged with, or convicted of, including nolo contendere plea or guilty plea, criminal offense in any state or federal court other than a minor traffic violation, whether or not sentence was imposed or suspended. Then the very following one after that is, have you ever had a record expunged or sealed?
Yes, sir. I do see those questions. I will say, I guess at the time, I was still operating with the mindset that once something was sealed or had not officially gone on the record, that you were not required to explain that. I had never gone before any type of licensing board before. So just in answering that question, I thought that you did not have to explain that.
Well, the question specifically.
The question is clear, and it does specifically ask that. And again, I am not a lawyer, and I haven't really had a lot of experience with the legal world or just being asked questions out of the ordinary beyond my normal background check. So in the past, with other background checks, including for working for the city of Denver 911, I'm sure that I would have had answered no on those questions as well, not answering in a way to conceal per se my record. I just thought that the matters were handled.
Well, with all due respect, this is not a Colorado application, and it does specifically in plain English, it doesn't require an attorney to complete it, nor do attorneys generally ever complete this application. It says, have you ever had a record expunged or sealed? That's a pretty plain question.
You are correct. I agree with you.
Anyone else have any questions of this candidate?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, application for this candidate by Dr. Jolly and a second by Mr. Simpson. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. You get your license today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Guessing that Ms. Lowe is next. How are you doing, Ms. Lowe?
It's fine.
I am John Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board. I'm going to tell you kind of who you're talking to today and a couple things about this procedure. On this side of the table, we are staff members that work here in the board offices. Myself, Dr. McCready is our assistant director. Ms. Bales is our attorney here in the office. And then I have 5 of our pharmacy board members who are kind of decision makers here for your application. Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who is the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Rodney Richmond, and Mr. Harold Simpson. First of all, on your application, you did let us know that we would find some stuff on it. So thank you for being forthright and telling us that up front. In a moment, I'll have Ms. Bales give the board just an overview of what was on your application. It's some of the board members are just now seeing a copy, just like what you've got. The board members are going to have a discussion with you about that. And at some point, they're going to tell us what they'd like to do with the application. Whatever they decide they would like to do, you could either agree or disagree with. Along those lines, if you agree, we go forth with whatever they've asked us to do. If you disagree, it kind of gives you the chance to either say, you know what, forget about this and walk away from it, or to appeal to have a formal hearing before the full board at a later date. We call that one formal because it is more formal than this. There's 8 board members, a hearing officer, a court reporter. We swear everybody in, and it's just a more formal procedure like going to court where it's a back and forth that way. So I was asked, you have any questions about how this works?
Not at this moment.
Okay, and that's a great way to put it. You change your mind and you do have a question, since you've never been here before, like raise your hand, get our attention. We'll try to help answer any questions you've got.
Okay.
Ms. Bales?
We have brought Ms. Lowe in for consideration this morning. She did disclose that she had been arrested or charged with criminal offenses. And the first one is on March 25th, 2020. She was charged with DWI first offense and careless and prohibitive driving. She pled guilty to the DWI, and the careless and prohibitive driving was merged into the DWI. She was sentenced to fines and court costs, 30 days jail with 29 suspended. And then on August 29th of 2020, she was arrested and charged with battery in the 3rd degree, Class A misdemeanor, domestic battering in the 3rd degree, Class A misdemeanor, and disorderly conduct, Class C misdemeanor. She entered pleas of guilty and was sentenced to $760 in fines and court costs, no contact order with the victim, restitution to be paid, and anger management. And on March 21st, 2021, a revocation warrant was issued due to non-payment, and the warrant was recalled once payment was received.
Okay, you want to tell us about these 2 incidents, please?
Yes. So the first incident, we had my fiance at the time and I had gone to my father's house. He lives in a little bitty town, hours away from where we live. And we had some alcohol and we had decided to stay the night. We weren't going to drive home that night. And then a disagreement happened between my fiance and my father, and it was going to turn into a violent altercation if we did not leave. There was really nowhere else for us to go. We should not have driven. The plan all along was to stay, but I did not want another issue to break out with my father. We were already in a very tense relationship. So we left. On the way to my mother's, which was about 45 minutes away, there was an item in the back of the truck that went through the back windshield. And that started another fight. So I got out and I was walking down the side of the road. I had called my mother. My mother was on her way to come pick me up. And by that point, a passerby had called and a cruiser came by and picked me up.
Okay.
For the second incident, if you didn't have any questions.
No, I
Okay.
will say the second one. Go
On
ahead.
the second incident, I was at home. Home was the fiance's farm. I lived there by myself. The fiance and his oldest daughter had come up with some of her friends. We had been drinking again in a period where I did not have a very good relationship with alcohol, and I just did not realize it yet. And an altercation broke out between me and the fiance, and I went to move myself away from the interaction completely. His daughter had taken off after one of her friends who was driving drunk. We were concerned about that. When she came home, she realized that I had fought with the fiance, and she decided she wanted to have a word, and that turned into a very tense situation. And I tried to, again, remove myself from that situation as well. And she would not let me. And a fight broke out. And the cops were called. And since I was not the one who called, I got taken in. I did enjoy the anger management classes that were assigned from that. I did not realize that I was such a poor communicator. That was still a very tense relationship. I did end up marrying the fiance, which was not a very good idea. We are divorced now. I have changed my entire relationship with alcohol. I do not drink like that. I have a support system. I have hobbies and friends and things that I did not have whenever I was in that relationship. My life has drastically changed, especially in the last year and 2 months since I left him.
Okay, so why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
I have a biology degree. I thought I wanted to work for Game and Fish, and I realized that really wasn't the avenue I wanted to go down. There was a job opening at Sam's Club where I work, and it was for a pharmacy technician, and they, really shoved me to apply for it. And at first I wasn't sure. I didn't really want to go into the healthcare side of things, and everybody kept telling me, you're compassionate, you're understanding, you're patient, you would be a perfect fit for this role. So I talked to the pharmacist, and he said, go ahead and apply for your pharmacy technician and see if you get it. And then we can get you over here into this department.
I have a question. So you said you got in a fight. It turned physical with the
Yes.
fiance and the daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
But you don't have any contact with them anymore?
No.
Okay. Other comments from any board member?
You said you changed your relationship where alcohol is concerned. Do you still drink?
Occasionally. I think my last drink was July 12th. And then the one before that was June 1st to celebrate the fact that I got full time at Sam's Club. I had a glass of wine at a very nice dinner.
What is the location of your Sam's Club?
I'm in Fort Smith.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Simpson and a second by Dr. Richmond. Any further discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. You get your license today.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hope I do.
Yeah, right. We just had staff unlocked for our support group folks to be able to come in. And I'll try to see if mine will work as well. Those five. Now it's working. We have we don't even have a handout for support group, do we? Which had two people asking, I think, to increase. No. Trying to connect. Oh. Might as well. Having a problem with Zoom responding. I saw it pop up and then it's, there we go. Every day.
This is great.
So it's funny, I can see, all right, I can see Ben, he's in. Hey, Ben, can you hear us this morning? All right. Should have Jennifer or Eric on as well. I have them here in just a second. Check my other messages. He's showing up. Oh, it's Ben and Jennifer, so it was just for Jennifer. Somebody else? Okay. Yep. I'm trying to, oh. Ben, I'm gonna try Jennifer real quick.
Okay.
One is Was not in, from yes. From to the next.
Jennifer's having the same issue I was and that you probably were, Ben. We had it locked down and we have to like open up the window with the link you have. So she's getting on right now.
Okay.
You off today?
Oh no, I gotta go clock in as soon as this is over.
Well, it's probably going to take to about 3 o'clock.
Oh, is it? All right. I guess I'll make up those hours tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you can tell work that.
All right.
As hot as it is, you'd probably melt in your car by that point.
Well, I had to drive around a couple blocks trying to find a shade tree I could park under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just watching for her on here. There we go. Here she comes. Jennifer, we can see you're on, but it looks like you are muted. So if you want to unmute, we can get started. There we go. Making us dizzy.
Hey guys.
Hey. Hey, Jennifer, tell us, I know you got Ben back. I think he's asked for an increase in hours. What you guys got?
Yeah, so is Ben on here?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So Ben, I know all of you guys have heard that, you know, sometimes relapse is part of someone's story. And I think that's definitely the case with Ben. So he's made like a 360, like we're incredibly proud of him. I mean, you know, I think he's learned how to deal with the stressors outside of pharmacy that kind of influenced him to go down the relapse path. But we absolutely support him increasing in hours. He's doing very well in the support group.
And Ben, remind us, are you at 32 now or are you at 20?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
at 32. I'm seeking full reinstatement today.
Okay. So what that would do, just for the board members, that would allow him to work full time. We usually have kind of an intended cap of 50 hours a week, unless there's a special arrangement where it's, we've had a couple people that have done different hours, like 7 on, 7 off or something like that. But basically would allow him to go back to full-time work on our kind of stepwise approach.
Okay, Ben, this is Lenore. Can you kind of give us an update on how everything's been going for you?
Oh, things have been going great. I'm in with AA groups. I speak to my sponsor 2 to 3 times a week, see him at least once a week, sometimes twice. Work going fine. Getting to spend a lot of time with my son, so that definitely helps with a lot of things for me.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you working, Ben?
I'm in Anderson's Discount Pharmacy in Fort Smith.
Okay. So that's where you would go full time?
For the time being. Since she and I have a history, I think she's just kind of helped me out until I get fully reinstated, and then kind of see where things go after that. Because it's difficult to find a new pharmacy to work at whenever you're under hour restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
Motion to approve Ben to go back to full time.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Boone. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any nays? Motion passes.
All right, congrats, man. You're approved. We'll mark you back up to full time.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Anything else? Anybody else, Jennifer?
That's all we have today.
All right, we're sending you some more customers, but you're already aware of that, so.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
We'll see you
Thank
later.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, who we got? Camille Bennett.
Hello, how are you? Have a seat.
How you doing this morning, Miss Bennett?
Doing great. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing well. We're glad we got air conditioning. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board. I'm going to kind of tell you who you're speaking with at this table today and a couple things about this procedure. On this side, we are all staff members. We work here in the board offices. Myself, Dr. Brenda McCready is our assistant director. Miss Ashley Bells is our attorney. On the other side, we have 5 of our board members who are decision makers here for your application. So on the far end, we got Mr. Harold Simpson, Dr. Rodney Richmond, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, and Dr. Clint Boone. On this, the board members just now seen your application, and on here we've got it noted, you told us nothing was going to come back, but of course we did find some stuff which the board members will want to talk to you about. And at some point, they're going to tell us what they want to do with your application. We don't know what they're going to say until they do that. They could vote to deny it, to approve it, to hold it for some period of time, to ask for additional information. Whatever they do with that, you could either agree with or disagree. If you disagree with it, you could either kind of say, you know what, forget this and walk away, or you could request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date. A formal hearing is more formal than this. There's 8 board members. There's a hearing officer that kind of explains everything and swears everybody in as witnesses, and a court reporter taking notes through the whole thing. And it's just a more formal procedure similar to what you'd see when you go to court. So I always ask, do you have any questions about how this works? Okay, realizing you haven't sat in that chair before, if you change your mind here in a little bit and you've got a question, wave your arms, get our attention, and ask us any questions you got. We'll do our best to help answer them. Ms. Vales?
And we brought Ms. Bennett in for consideration. She did not disclose any arrests or charges on her application. Some things did come up. The documents are all in your packet. Some of these are not convictions, so we can't hold those against her, but I want to explain why those are in the packet. On March 28, 2011, she was arrested and charged with shoplifting, a Class A misdemeanor. She pled guilty to the charge and was sentenced to $760 fine and court cost. On February 16, 2015, she was arrested and charged with domestic battering in the 3rd degree Class A misdemeanor, but that case was dismissed in February 22nd, 2016, days later. On June 8, 2015, she was charged with shoplifting, and it was passed to dismiss for 6 months with no other charges, and she completed that. On August 9, 2015, she was arrested and charged with forgery, Class C felony, theft of property, Class D felony, and theft of property, Class A misdemeanor. Documents in the packet shows those charges were null prost against her. On March 23rd, 2022, she was arrested and charged with possession of drug paraphernalia, Class A misdemeanor, possession of controlled substance, Class A misdemeanor. She was sentenced to 1 year probation, $510 in fines and court costs, and she was allowed to complete community service in lieu of paying the fines. And on March 28, 2023, she'd complied with court orders and they dismissed her from probation.
Okay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Miss Newsom.
You want to tell us about all this stuff that's been going on with you?
Okay, well, on 2 of them, well, one of them, the shoplifting that I pled guilty, I actually pled guilty because I actually did it. It was like a year out of high school. I was struggling with some things and I did do that. And I paid the fines. I hadn't did anything, since then. With that drug charge, it was in Little Rock up here. during spring break. I had some friends with me along with their children, my children. We had went downtown to take them out for spring break. Later on, after that, when everything was over with, I decided to go visit someone. So I left my children at the house with my friends, and I went to go visit someone, and I got stopped in Sherwood, and it was for my tail light. And he asked to search the car. I don't know why he asked to search the car, but I complied. You know, I let him search the car, and he did find something in the back seat. Wasn't nobody with me but me, so he basically said like if I could call them and they can say that they, but of course they didn't. So I had to take that, you know, but it wasn't originally mine, but it was just in my vehicle.
So, it was your car?
It was my car.
And what was found on that back seat?
Some marijuana.
Okay. Do you smoke marijuana?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
That's just something, I am a CNA. I just wanted to try something different. And that's what I chose to do, to be a pharmacy technician. Because I'm trying to stay in the nursing field of some sort of, I kind of want to give a break on the CNA just to see what else I could do, what else I would like to do, you know. But that's why I was just trying to find something else to do.
How long have you been a CNA?
And it's 2012.
Oh, for a while.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like that's always my go-to job. Like if I don't have anything else to fall back on, I can always go back to be a CNA. I was at the hospital before I applied for my pharmacy technician, being a CNA, but I was terminated because I had got COVID back to back. And they're kind of firm with their days, so I had missed too many days, so I was terminated for my days from being sick.
Questions?
Just to be all inclusive, you said you didn't smoke marijuana.
No, sir.
You don't eat it either.
And I apologize. She did tell us on that first question that something would come back. She just said no on the others, but she did disclose.
Yeah, like when I first applied, I did send it. That was the one I sent in because that was the latest of the trouble that I had ran into. So I did send this in, and I might have checked that I didn't have anything on my background, but there probably was a misread or whatever because when I first sent my application in, I did send that one in, the latest one, the 2022, where I got stopped and he found stuff in the car. And I did send this in. I didn't send the other stuff in because it was so long ago. I didn't think it was gonna pop up, but it still did. So I was willing to send in my statement to explain what happened for each case.
To be all inclusive, do you have a medical marijuana card?
No, ma'am.
You fulfilled all your requirements?
Right.
You fulfilled all your requirements for probation or anything for all these?
I complied. I passed all my drug tests. Cause they was giving me random drug tests with this. I passed all of them. I attended every court date. Whatever monies they was asking for, I gave it to them. And I just had to serve that 1 year probation because that was, I guess their law. If you get caught with anything in your car, that's the first offense was probation. So I had to take it because nobody confessed that it was theirs, you know. So it fell back on me.
You have the discussion?
Ms. Fales, the 2015 domestic battering was dismissed, but the other two, the shoplifting and the forgery, Or should we look at those as not issues or?
Yeah, so I put those in because of the disclosure issue on the application. But if they're not, they weren't convictions, then you should not really include those in your deliberations. So
Just
she
the-
does have some deniable, like the domestic battery from 2015, that was dismissed. It looks like so recently after the arrest. So there is another charge, the shoplifting, it was passed to dismiss for 6 months. I think you could consider that because she did get a course of action to remain on good behavior. And the felony forgery, felony theft, and theft of property from 2015, those were null pros, did not refiled. I don't think you can consider those, but they would count as arrests. If you're asking whether or not you've been arrested, those would be arrests or charges. So really you're looking at a shoplifting from 2011, a domestic battery from 2015. Those are deniable offenses. And then of course the possession of drug paraphernalia from 22, you could consider.
But not the no prost
Not the null pros.
and not the domestic battery. Because it was just dismissed a couple of weeks later, right?
Yeah. That's correct.
So really 2011, 2015, both shoplifting.
Yeah, and I think as staff, the one we were concerned with the most was the possession from 2022 would cause us pause.
Okay. So you said that you didn't, the drug paraphernalia wasn't yours, but where did that come from? Was someone smoking in the car while you were in there, while you were driving at some point, or?
Yeah, they was riding with me because I have a truck. I have a Yukon XL. So everybody rode with me, and no, I wasn't aware that anybody had anything like that because at the time children was in the car with me, and that's a no-go with me. And somehow when I dropped them off back home so I can go visit who I was going to visit, that had to been left in the car in the back seat where the individuals were sitting at.
Okay, and you said you don't smoke marijuana.
No.
Have you ever smoked marijuana?
That was fresh out of high school.
Okay,
just
so
doing
when
things.
would you say the last time?
Maybe 2013, 14, in a minute.
Anyone else have any questions? What is the will of the board?
How long have you worked as a CNA?
I've been with CNA since 2012. In and out. I did home visits, facilities, nursing home, hospital. My last encounter with the CNA was with the hospital, which was about 3 months ago, like right around the time I applied for this, when I lost my job.
Who are you working for now?
No,
Are you
well,
working as a CNA now?
No.
Okay.
No, sir. Which I can, but like I said, I just wanted to try something different.
But you've been doing that for 13 years? Have you been around medications while you've worked?
I
I
haven't,
know you can't administer medications, but I'm just asking.
but as far as like setting it, like they have a little Sunday through Saturday little container, like I set it out for them to get it out for that day. But as far as me giving it to them, that wasn't in our job description to do, so I couldn't do that.
Okay. But you have any? I'll make a motion to grant the waiver.
Okay. I have a, motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Mr. Simpson. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any nays? The motion passes. You'll get your license today. And good luck.
Yeah, that's if you agree with it. Okay,
You got it.
absolutely. Thanks for coming in, Ms. Bennett. Guys, with that, we are clear. We've got a 1 o'clock hard start coming back. Okay.